Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2508. And today we are talking about family traditions that nobody can explain. So what's that all about? Well, think of all the times that you get together as a family, certain times of the years, there may be certain birthday, there's traditions in there that you may that you've been following for years, but don't know why. It could be that on a birthday, there is a certain thing that happens on birthdays. I don't know. There was one that I had when I was growing up. I used to go to a friend's place for her birthday celebration, and she always had a round birthday cake, and her father would cut out the circle in the middle of the cake, and that would be his piece. He did it every time. He did it with all of his kids for all of their birthdays. That he got the centerpiece of the cake, and then everybody was left with a ring cake to enjoy. Where did that tradition start? No idea. But, it could be something like that. It could be when you get together for family reunions, there is a time that you take to honor those that have gone before you, the ancestors that have gone before you. Where did that tradition start? When did the reunions start? Who was responsible for getting the reunions together in the first place and then starting this tradition? There could be not really a set time, but there is set things that get done at a reunion that you don't know where the tradition came from or where it passed. And it could be, maybe it's a recipe that's made every holiday. There's, every family has traditions of some sort. Maybe it's a recipe that's made every holiday. Every Thanksgiving, there's always the sweet potato. I don't know. I'm just trying to think what that thing was that I made one time. I made this really cool sweet potato dish in the crock pot, and it turned out really, really good. And I made it every holiday after that. That's how that tradition started. I haven't made it in a while because I've known a crock pot for a while, but it was always a great dessert, side dish to enjoy. When I was in the Air Force and I used to work downtown in Wellington, whenever we had to bring a plate for whatever the occasion was, I always got asked if I was bringing my mix. And my mix is a can of tuna with the same size of cottage cheese. Mix the two together. This does not sound appetizing, but trust me, it is really good. Salt and pepper, and then some soy sauce and some Worcestershire that sauce, and then mix it together, and then you put it on meal mates, which are crackers that you can get here in New Zealand, and you top it with a slice of cheese. It does not look appetizing. Truly, it does not look, but it tasted really good. It was one of the first dishes that would always disappear whenever we put the plate because everybody grew to love them, and I always got asked. When we got told we had to bring a plate for whatever the occasion was, and everybody would always ask me, "Are you bringing your dish?" And so I didn't have to think about it. Everybody else said, "Oh, what am I going to bring? I didn't have to think about it. I was just asked to bring the tuna and cottage cheese mix every time. It makes a good dip too. But that aside, so there's just things like that. Is there a saying that gets repeated at every gathering? Is there a superstition that nobody questions? Think about that. Is there something that the family does every time they get together and they do it a particular way because of superstition and nobody's questioned it? Is it a way of celebrating birthdays, Christmas, weddings, or milestones? Is there a certain pattern that you follow on those occasions? When asked why the tradition exists, often the answer is, I don't know, we've always done it that way. Many began because of a particular person, event, culture, belief, or circumstance. Over time, the tradition remained, even when the story behind it faded. This is why we love telling stories. One of the most fascinating things about family history is discovering where those traditions came from. Sometimes the answer is found in an old photograph, sometimes in a family letter, sometimes in an immigration story carried across the oceans, and sometimes the answer is no longer available, but the tradition itself remains as a connection to the generations who came before us. And again, there may be some myth and legend that gets told every time we go to do this tradition. This is why we do it. And in most of those myths and legends, there is some truth in them. But let us help you find the true story. Family history is not only found in records and documents, it's also found in the small things that families continue to do without always knowing why. Well, we've always done it that way. Why? Well, we don't know. But it's always done that way. It's been passed down through the generations. When did it start? Don't know. Is there a way we can find out? There could be. If we do some genealogy research, we could find a letter. We could find a photograph we could find the photograph when it was first done. We may find a family letter or a diary entry, or even in a family Bible, there might be something in there. There could be a story that was carried across when they immigrated to a country. They may have started that new tradition once they arrived in the country as a way to honor where they came from. So think about things. Those traditions may be carrying a story that has been waiting a very long time to discover. Yes, so discovering those family stories and the family history, and maybe it could be written in a book. There could be a book about the family. Actually, do I have? Let's see if we can see. Yeah, this white book here. This white book here is called the Longland Story. Longland is a family that, let's see, I think it's about my 4th or 5th great grandparents. She was a Longland. That's their family story. And when we read, I'll tell you the most fascinating part is that when I read through it, it is amazing how much my family, the Eakins, which is my maiden name, how much the Eakins were involved with the Longland family, and the fact that they were finally joined in marriage was just like a big deal. There may be a storybook out like that about the story of the family, and the traditions are written in there. Who knows? Unless we start looking, we don't know. Unless somebody in the family knows for definite or knows about what kind of sort of how it got started, that is a starting place. So let's go find those traditions. That's your task today. Find a tradition. What is a tradition that you have had in your family for years? Something that you did as a kid that you've continued on in your own family today. What's one tradition that you've always done for as long as you can remember? And what was the origin of that tradition? That's your task for today. Go find the origin of a tradition. If you need some help, just scan this QR code up here in the corner there, and let's set up a 30-minute discovery call to get you on the path of discovering your family history. With that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll be back tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific.